you spend like 100 hours meticulously building your character, right?
At least 100.
Right, at least. And you finally step through that final ominous fog gate and, well, you expect a clash of titans.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's the unwritten contract of gaming. You swing the big sword, the monster falls, the credits roll.
Exact.
But what happens when a video game asks you to just put your sword away? Like, ignore all your instincts and show radical empathy to the ultimate evil instead.
It's a huge shift.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating, frankly intense gaming debate over on Z Gaming TV that completely blew my mind.
It's a wild transcript to read through.
Right. We're exploring a single ending from the alternate timeline of Elden Ring Nightreign, and how it's sparking this profound discussion about storytelling, redemption, and what creators actually owe their audiences.
Yeah, especially after years of just putting those audiences through the emotional ringer. And, the source material here is so compelling because it transcends your standard lore analysis.
Right. It's not just a wiki page.
Exactly. We are looking at a transcript where 3 distinct highly invested players are clashing over the fundamental philosophy of how a dark fantasy world should resolve.
Yeah.
They aren't just arguing about what happened in the game.
Yeah.
They're arguing about what, deserves to happen.
So to really understand the friction here, I need to set the baseline for you. In the first half of this debate, 2 of the speakers who go by the Finger Reader and the Tarnished, they kind of lay out their cases for what they consider the true canon ending.
The definitive ones, yeah.
Right. Now, the Finger Reader is basically your traditionalist. They're arguing for an ending known as the Dawn.
Which is, the textually intended resolution if you view the game as a classic, heroic epic.
Right, exactly.
In the Dawn, you do exactly what you've been conditioned to do. You fight your way to the top, you vanquish the creeping dark, and you usher in a new era of light.
The classic hero's journey.
Precisely. The character arcs are neatly tied up, hope is hard won, and the narrative continues the parent canon of the franchise without rocking the boat too much.
It's the safe bet. I mean, you beat the bad guy, the sun comes up.
Yeah?
But then the Tarnished, the second debater, argues for the new knight. And this is the ending associated with the default protagonist you start with, Wilder.
Right. The guy on the box art, basically.
Yeah. And this ending argues that you can't just kill the darkness. You actually have to honor the cyclical nature of these games. You don't destroy the night, you gentle it.
You accept that darkness is a natural part of the world's rhythm.
Exactly.
And, both of those arguments make perfect sense within the historical context of From Software games.
They really do.
Whether it's restoring an age of fire or ushering in an age of dark, you are making a massive cosmic choice through violence and conquest. You are conquering the landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is exactly what makes the third debater's argument hit like an absolute freight train.
Oh, it really does.
The debater, known as the recusant, steps up and just completely rejects both the Dawn and the new night.
Throws them right out.
Yep. They defend an ending that shatters those expectations entirely. It's a secret ending called the Night of Love.
I want you to think for a second about your favorite bleak, unforgiving story. Like the kind of narrative that just grinds its characters into the dirt.
Oh, I have a few of those in mind.
Right. Now, if you're at the very end of that grueling journey, how jarring would it be to defeat the terrifying evil, not with superior tactics, but with, a radical act of comfort?
Wait, hold on. Let me challenge that right out of the gate.
Sure.
Because if I'm playing a bleak, unforgiving From Software game, I'm there for the brutality. That's the price of admission.
It's what's on the tin.
Exactly. Doesn't ending a 100-hour grimdark epic with a metaphorical hug completely betray the tone players are paying for? It sounds so out of place.
And that is exactly the tension the debaters are wrestling with.
Okay.
To understand why it worked for the recusant, we have to look at the mechanical scenario of this ending. You aren't playing as the default hero.
Right, you're not Wilder.
No, you are playing as the recluse. She is this ancient witch of the deep forest, and she has watched endless cycles of empires rise and fall.
She's seen it all.
She really has.
Yeah.
She has spent her entire life speaking to the lost and the abandoned. And she finally reaches the end of all things to face Heelstor.
The knight aspect.
Yes.
And Heelstor isn't just, a big guy with a sword. He is the literal personification of the primordial night itself, like the ultimate source of the darkness.
Precisely. And the mechanics here are what elevate this from a simple cutscene to a profound subversion.
How so?
Well, you do fight. You slay Heelstor's physical projection, But the twist happens in the silence after the battle.
Okay.
Usually in these games, when you deplete a boss's health bar, a prompt appears to execute them or claim their power.
Right, the victory lap.
Yeah.
You hit the button and do a cool finishing move.
Exactly. But here, if you have meticulously completed the Recluse's massive, sprawling quest line, the prompt changes.
Oh, wow.
It simply says, embrace.
Embrace.
Yeah, you are literally pressing the exact same button you have used to kill things for 100 hours, but the animation changes to one of comfort.
That is wild. It's like getting to the end of a grueling marathon, and instead of crossing the finish line, you just turn around and give the pavement a hug.
That's a great way to put it. You don't destroy the night. You realize that this primordial night, this eternal terror that has plagued the world,
Yeah.
it has actually been alone since before the world began.
Oh, man.
Its terror stems purely from a profound cosmic loneliness.
That is heavy. And the recusant drops this incredible quote during the debate to defend it. They say, love is not given to monsters because they deserve it. Love is given because no one else will.
What's fascinating here is how it changes the player from a conqueror to a caregiver
Yeah.
in a medium where your primary interaction with the environment is destruction. You know, clearing camps, smashing obstacles, harvesting souls.
Yeah, breaking pots.
Right, exactly. The Knight of Love proposes that the ultimate solution to systemic suffering is radical compassion.
So you aren't fixing the world by killing the symptom.
No, you are healing the root trauma that caused the darkness in the first place.
Well, as beautiful as that is, the Tarnished is having absolutely none of it.
Oh, they hate it.
They jump straight in and argue that mechanically, the Knight of Love is just a convoluted secret ending locked behind an obscure side quest.
Which is true, mechanically speaking.
It is.
Okay.
And they ask a totally fair question. How can a hidden conditional ending be the true canon over the primary path the game naturally pushes you down?
Right.
And beyond the mechanics, the Tarnished calls it narratively cheesy. They literally say it feels more Disney than From Software.
And we have to look at the historical baggage here because the Tarnished's critique is deeply grounded in 20 years of studio history.
Oh, totally.
From Software built their entire reputation on titles like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and the base game of Elden Ring. These are narratives famously built on the failure of redemptive gestures.
Right. In those worlds, when someone tries to do something purely out of love, like resurrecting a loved one or protecting a sanctuary,
It never goes well.
it usually backfires horribly and creates like a new mutated nightmare.
Exactly. So the Tarnished is arguing that a happily ever after via the power of love violates the core tonal register of the entire franchise.
It feels out of character.
It feels unearned because the universe has spent thousands of hours telling you that compassion is a weakness that will get you killed.
Right. And then the finger reader piles on with another massive objection, which we can call the solo protagonist problem.
This is a really interesting structural point.
It is. So Nightreign is unique because it has 8 distinct protagonists you can choose from.
Yeah, quite a roster.
You've got Wilder, the Guardian, the Duchess, Iron Eye, the Raider, the Revenant, the Executor, and of course the Recluse. The finger reader argues that this Night of Love ending is hyper-specific to the Recluse and her personal journey. So how can it be the canon ending for the whole universe when the other 7 Nightfarers aren't even involved?
It's a strong structural argument. I mean, if an ending only applies to 1/8 the playable roster, it seems marginal.
Definitely.
But the recusant counters this by explaining the actual requirements for the Night of Love.
Right, because it's complicated.
It really is. It isn't a solo ending at all. Mechanically, the Recluse cannot reach the primordial night alone. The game requires the actions of the other 7 Nightfarers to happen first.
Wait, so they are the ones who must defeat Heelstir's aspect.
Yes.
So they do all the violent work.
Exactly. Think of
Yeah.
it less like a solo victory and more like a massive combination lock.
Okay, I like that.
The other 7 protagonists are the tumblers that have to violently fall into place. They break the boss down. They exhaust the primordial night.
And then the Recluse steps in.
Right. The Recluse is simply the final turn of the key that opens the door to empathy. The 7 are present, not as characters standing in the room, but as the absolute mechanical condition that allows the Recluse to have her moment.
So she completes their collective violent work with one final act of mercy.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if the Night of Love is this ultimate collective reward, it shifts the debate from in-game lore to something much bigger.
To the real world, yeah.
The recusant argues that this ending isn't Disney cheese at all. It is revolutionary specifically because it defies the developer's usual bleakness so blatantly.
You really have to consider the mindset of the players experiencing this.
Yeah.
The people playing Nightreign are the exact same people who spent hundreds of hours suffering through the base game.
Oh yeah, they've been through the ringer.
They know the deep lore. They know that Queen Marika's Grand War, which was supposed to bring order, was ultimately ugly and destructive.
It was a disaster.
And they know that Miquella's supposed love, which was supposed to be pure, was actually manipulative and conditional.
Right.
The Shining Golden Order was just brutal tyranny dressed up in holy light.
Basically, every time these players have encountered the promise of salvation or love in this universe, it was a trap.
Precisely. So the finger reader counters this by reminding everyone that Nightreign is explicitly an alternate timeline.
Right. It's technically separate.
It exists outside the main canon.
Mm-hmm.
So mathematically, a happy ending here doesn't overturn the tragic reality of the base games.
It doesn't fix the past. The base universe doesn't even know this timeline exists.
Exactly. But the Recusant has an answer for that too, focusing on the actual creator, Ishizaki.
The man behind the curtain.
Right.
Yeah.
The in-game universe might not know this timeline exists, but Ishizaki knows.
Yeah.
The Recusant argues that, unconstrained by the heavy obligations of the main bleak canon, the creator made a deliberate, conscious choice to write the Night of Love.
It's like a statement from the studio itself.
Yes. It asks what is possible when they aren't forced to maintain a status quo of endless suffering. There is a concept here of beautiful despair, which is an aesthetic this studio has perfected over 2 decades. But the Recusant asks this incredible meta question.
So what's that?
After 20 years of playing games built entirely on failed redemptions, doesn't an audience deserve to see love actually succeed just once?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Is this ending just fan service for exhausted players? Or is it the only ending the game truly owes its audience after making them suffer for so long?
Do we deserve a reward for our emotional endurance? It's a really compelling argument.
It is.
But, if the Night of Love is the ultimate reward for our suffering, what happens when the player simply gives up? Because the Tarnished brings up a fourth scenario that strips away all this high-minded philosophy.
The total opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. What if you don't fight for the dawn? You don't gentle the new night, and you certainly don't offer radical empathy. What if you just fail?
Yeah.
That brings us to the Endless Night.
The anti-ending. This is what happens when the Nightfarers just don't succeed. The primordial light persists unabated.
It just wins.
Right. The region of Limveld remains completely dark forever, and the lands between never recover. The world was in darkness, and it just stays in darkness.
And what I absolutely love about this transcript is how quickly the Tarnished grounds the debate with a painfully relatable reality check.
It's so fun.
Amidst all this talk of authorial intent and beautiful despair, the Tarnished claims that the Endless Night is their true personal canon.
Right.
Because they have literally lived it 41 times in a row.
It is the grim reality of actually playing the game rather than just theorizing about it on a forum.
Exactly. The Tarnished talks about trying to play the brutal Caligo area solo without preparing.
A rookie mistake.
Huge mistake. And they specifically detail getting this Endless Night ending when their online cooperator disconnects on day 3 of a session.
Oh no.
Yes, leaving them completely alone against Healstore with exactly 1 consecrated vial left in their inventory.
Just stranded.
Just stranded in the ultimate darkness because someone's Wi-Fi dropped.
It's a hilarious anecdote, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it serves a vital purpose in the debate.
How so?
Well, it highlights exactly why all 3 debaters unanimously agree that the Endless Night cannot be the true narrative canon.
Because it's just a game over screen?
Because it is the default state of the world. It is the ending of doing nothing.
Ah, I see.
If you fail, nothing changes. The darkness just continues its natural course. True narrative canon, especially in a medium defined by player interactivity, requires a definitive choice.
Right.
It requires action. The Endless Night is the absence of both. It's just the void.
So what does this all mean? We have journeyed through these vastly different interpretations of how a world should end.
You have.
We have the dawn, the new night, the night of love, and the anti-ending of the Endless Night. Let's guide you through the final crystallized positions of our 3 debaters, because at the end of the transcript, they really plant their flags.
Yeah, they don't budge.
Yeah.
So the finger reader stands firmly by the dawn.
The traditionalist.
Right. For them, canon requires structural narrative resolution. The character arcs are tied up, hope is hard won, and the parent canon of the franchise continues in a logical, intended way.
Makes sense. Then you have the Tarnished, who defends the new Knight. They argue it's the most authentic to the studio's tone.
Honor the cycle.
Exactly. It honors the relentless cycle of the universe, the darkness is gentled but ultimately returns, and crucially, it belongs to the default protagonist, Wilder. Feels the most realistic to the established world.
And finally, the recusant. They stand by the Night of Love. They reject the cycle entirely.
Throwing it all away for empathy.
Yeah. For the recusant, true canon in this specific instance is about thematic resonance over structural logic. It is the ending where the monster becomes a companion, where the cycle of violence is broken by empathy, and where love, after 20 years of studio cruelty, finally succeeds.
So you have a traditionalist, a realist, and a romantic.
Basically, yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this debate is that it doesn't crown a winner. The debaters leave the final choice up to the jury, which is you, the viewers themselves.
Right.
They urge you to take to the comments and argue your own stance. But they demand that you do it with evidence, with lore citations, and most importantly, with profound feeling.
It really showcases how deeply players internalize these interactive narratives.
Yeah.
You aren't just consuming a story that's spoon-fed to you.
No, not at all.
You are actively co-authoring its final meaning through your own interpretation of the mechanics and the lore.
It is incredible how diving into a single debate about a video game's side quest mechanic opens up this massive philosophical discussion.
It goes so deep.
We started by talking about hitting a boss with a sword and ended up debating whether an audience shaped by years of fictional tragedy is ultimately owed a narrative of redemptive love.
It's quite a journey. And I want to leave you with a final thought, drawn directly from the teaser the debaters dropped for their next episode.
Oh, right, the teaser.
Yeah. They mentioned this highly contested detail during the Night of Love ending. When the recluse embraces Healstore, the terrifying Knight aspect actually weeps.
He cried.
He does. And the recusant, leaning fully into their romantic reading, poetically claims that the monster weeps because he is finally seen.
Which is such a poignant image, but then the Tarnished immediately jumps in and jokes that he's actually weeping because his hitbox is confusing.
And the Tarnished joke is brilliant because it forces us to look at the machinery behind the magic.
Right, the code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For anyone unfamiliar, a hitbox is the invisible programming that decides if an attack hits a character or not. When a boss is massive and moving erratically, that programming can become a confusing, broken mess.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
So the joke serves as a perfect reality check. And I want you to mull over that tension.
Okay.
Think about how we experience profound narratives today. Are the most moving, emotional moments in our modern stories, like a cosmic monster weeping because it is finally understood, actually driven by the author's grand, intricate thematic design? Or are we, as audiences desperate for meaning, just staring at messy code and projecting beautiful poetry onto it?
Are we experiencing a profound moment of empathy, or are we just reading way too deeply into a programming glitch?
Exactly.
That is such a fantastic question to leave off on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the narratives you consume, whether they are in a book, a movie, or waiting for you behind a terrifying fog gate. We will catch you next time.